the people who are unwilling to pay taxes, self-employed who are not paying taxes, those who are avoiding taxes. VAT is the only tax that tax them, because if the drug dealer go and drink, you know, a shot by a club, you got to pay VAT on the alcohol. So you get some way of getting some taxation out of him. So VAT is a good tax. It's not a bad tax. It's just that it had a bad rap. And I'll tell you how good VAT is. In the first year the Jaglio administration implemented VAT, they collected $17 extra billion in taxes from the economy. That meant that a lot of people who were not paying taxes before were captured. And that's a good thing. So I think VAT should reduce, but what should be done that is more importantly in the first 100 days, and that's why I was happy that Moses said that, you know, 10 to 13% salary increase. We should give those at the bottom of the economic ladder some kind of economic incentive to have more money in their pockets. You know, the other thing that I think that they should look at seriously is to take a lot more people who are at the bottom of the pay scale, the nurses, the teachers who are working for below 60,000, take them out of the tax bracket, make 60,000 or less what you call tax-free initiative, tax-free threshold, so that they don't pay taxes. So those people at the bottom, the nurses, you'd be shocked. There are teachers in Guyana who are working for $55,000.
Wow.
They should not be paying taxes. That's almost $300 US a month. Why are those people paying taxes? You know, if we raise the tax threshold to $60,000, immediately 35,000 people who are working in the public service, teachers, nurses, soldiers, policemen, will immediately stop paying taxes and have more money in their pockets. That will make a world of a difference for them. Of course, what it will mean less resources to spend on things like the medical contract. But I'll tell you what.
But VAT will have VAT will sort of bring back some of that tax
exactly,
that it.
Because they're spending more. VAT is an expenditure tax. Agreed. But let me tell you why I believe that we're overspending on things like medical supplies and so forth. I don't know if you know, but over the last 10 years, Jaglio Ramatar regime has committed to one company 80% of the medical supplies contracts in there, to the tune of about $5 billion.
What? Such a monopoly?
80%. And guess what? It was revealed that this company is overselling products to the state. For example, there's a simple product called, it's a face cream for if you have a facial disease called Ketnazole. You could go to the corner pharmacy in Georgetown and buy that a tube of Ketnazole for $200. That company is selling Ketnazole to the state $2,000, 10 times the market value of the product.
God.
So this is what I'm saying to you. If these things are rationalized and reviewed by the incoming administration, there will be a lot of savings, because right now there's a huge transfer of wealth from the people to a handful of Jaglioites, I would call them. Yeah, go ahead.
Says that, let me just go to the chat room and then you'll get back to those points. Harold said we have to know how the resources of the country will be used to develop the country. P said, Sis, I am very impressed with your presentation this afternoon in being very neutral and saying it as you see it, as it is, in quotes. I would like to indeed see the manifesto of the coalition and hope they are not being carried away by the large turnouts. As you say, winning is easy because people are hungry for a change. But what are interested, alright, I'm just going to read it as it's written. What are interested in the next steps, as in the 100 days after? I would be more than happy for you to give your input in getting this out ASAP, since we have only a few weeks left to election, and many in the diaspora would like to go home to vote, but still waiting for the manifesto. Do you grasp that?
I do, and I believe that the rational thinkers will be asking for a manifesto. You know, if you know the ethnic numbers in Guyana, there is always going to be 100,000 on either side of the divide who will vote for either the PPP or whatever is left of the PNC, they will vote. Their navel string are buried to those parties.
Yes.
You can't change that. But what you have, that rational middle, that rational 35% in the middle, they want to know what is going to be done for them. And I think it's very important that these things get revealed, both the PPP and the APNU-AFC. So I'm not saying that only one party. I want to see what both of them are going to get. I'm not impressed with the PPP because the last time in their manifesto, Donald Ramotar said, I will have local government elections within 1 year. Never happened. 17 years going on and it didn't happen up to now. So they might just regurgitate the same old rubbish. But the point is they still have a duty to the nation to present something. But I agree when this person saying we should also look a little bit further maybe to the first year. But let me finish one thing, if I may.
Go ahead.
What I also expect in the first 100 days. I expect that the new government, and I'm hoping the new government is the APNU-AFC, will set up the Constitutional Reform Commission. Guyana is a broken nation because we have a malfunctional constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And until that Constitutional Reform Commission is set up, I will continue to question, because this is the basis of fixing the nation. You cannot fix the nation with change of government only. You've got to fix the nation with changing the constitutional construct of the nation. And of course, the most important thing for me is I believe we need to re-energize the local government system. So come what may, old system, new system, whatever system, I would like to know within the first 100 days that a commitment is coming from the highest level of the new government to say, within this year, within the next 6 months, something of that, or call a date, say December 9th or November 9th, we will have local government elections on that date. Lock into it so that GCOM can get themselves prepared and the nation can prepare, and let's re-energize the entire local government system. Guyana has become a garbage country, a collector of garbage, because our local government system is malfunctioning. And it's been malfunctioning for over a decade. And that is why we have this garbage crisis. It is not, it is a two-pronged process. Yes, our people have to be retrained on not to dump garbage. But in a crisis where your system is not working, then the entire country breaks down at a minute level. Then there's another thing that I'm expecting from the new government, and this is police reform. I believe that they should have a police reform commission of independent-minded people, the Yesu Prasad and the Joe Singh, and those guys who are not politicians. Get them to sit there and work with the political leadership and the police leadership in understanding how we can overcome this crisis we have in the police force. Yes, I think salary increase is one tool, but it's not the primary tool. There needs to be a mental shift in the police force at the leadership level. If we have to seek external help from Scotland Yard to maybe have some temporary commanders in some of the divisions, I would support something like that, because we need to change the culture within the force.
I agree.
It's become a business for those who can pay, rather than being people who are there to protect and serve the nation. And then there's this one called the Public Procurement Commission. We have to change the way we buy goods and services in Guyana. It is a system that serves a very, very small percentage of our people. We're buying drugs for Guyana that we don't need, and hence they get expired. We're buying products for the education sector that are not being delivered to those who need it. So there's all kinds of malfunctionality in the way we procure things. And we need to change that. So, and hence this Public Procurement Commission also should be independent of the politicians. Why should politicians be dabbling on day-to-day affairs? They should be trendsetters on the ideas. This is where we want to carry Guyana in the next 10 years. Let's take it there. Let's get all the people mobilized to take it there. Why do you want to know whether John Jones get a contract or Harry James get it? Whoever is the best qualified person will get it with a track record. If we had a functional public procurement commission, we would have never had a fit Motilal walking away with close to $600 million from a road that was never built by him, or we would have never had a Surrender Engineering walking away with $800 million of Guyana's money for a specialty hospital that was never built.
Chase, let me go into the chat room again. This P said, this is why we need a change. I'm glad that you are highlighting what is happening at the hospital. There is also excessive supplies that are allowed to expire and have to be dumped. JC asked, Guyana will turn around with you at the table. Do you plan on being a part of the new government should the coalition win in May?
Well, I am an avid supporter of the AFC, and the AFC is part of the coalition, so that immediately answers that question.
Okay, one more. So says, I love you to death. I can feel your passion, and all that you are sharing is the same things that I would like to see. Local government election, police overhauling, etc. We need a holistic paradigm shift in our dear country. Guyana needs a complete overhaul, extreme makeover.
Well, I mean, I think we knew this for a long time. I mean, the whole objective of when, in 2011, that is what, we went to the people with. As I said, we have to, and I want to focus. I mean, I want to focus on, yes, right now there will be a lot of emotions. Everybody will love everybody. Everybody will either love the PPP or love the coalition. That's fine. All this love must be there. It's political love. But political love does not put bread on the table. That's the bottom line. So we've got to have a team of people who constantly focus on the issues to make sure that the benefits of the nations are being distributed to more people. So, for example, the way housing is done today in PPP Guyana, I would call it that way, because they give you a piece of mud lot and they say build. Now that obviously is not a model to develop a housing scheme. A housing scheme should be a community, developing a community of people with playgrounds, with schools, with roads, with lights, with water. And I'll tell you how hypocritical the PPP is. When Pradoville was developed, before one stone was laid in that community, they had water, they had electricity, they had roads. But in every other housing scheme that the PPP develops, save and except the private housing schemes, every other housing scheme, be it Diamond, all these other places, it's you push to go build in a piece of mud where the roads are not even done.
Says just a quick question. Just clarify this for me, for our listeners that are not non-Guyanese. What is Pradoville?
Pradoville is a community that was, by subterfuge, was taken away from the community of Plaisance and transferred via a presidential vesting order to a corporation of the government called NISIL. And NISIL then resold these properties at below market value to key officials of the People's Progressive Party.
Oh no.
It is located at Good for Walking, which is a part of right next to Plaisance. That is what happened. So it was a huge transfer of wealth, and it was more a matter of stealing people's patrimony, because those, for example, the playground that I know about, that was a playground historically was developed for the people of Plaisance, and that whole playground was converted to house lots, and we're talking about huge house lots. I mean, the pictures can show the Taj Mahal of I will call him King Kong, because I love to call him King Kong. Rodney used to call Bonham King Kong, so I will call this person King Kong. It makes me happy to call him King Kong. Let him take me to court. Yes, but this is the reality. And that is what this is where I feel this message didn't come out. It was property that belongs to the people of Plaisance, the village of Eddie Grant and Rudy Grant. Those lands were taken away by the state using a tool called a vesting order, transferred to the state, and then sold at cheap value, very, very cheap value. So those who are close and in the leadership of the PPP. Almost every PPP leader lives in Pradoville. The reason why it got to be Pradoville, that there was one point in time where the PPP leaders were only driving around in an exclusive vehicle called Prados. They've now moved on to bigger things, Lexus and so forth. But so that's where it got stuck with that name, Prados.
Decadence at the people's expense.
All paid for by the people's expense. I mean, the other thing a lot of people don't realize, the Minister of Finance has crushed 2 of these mega vehicles in the last 12 months. One time at Mashimani, because it was alleged that he was under the influence, DIU. That vehicle was written off, thrown in the garbage. A brand new one was bought, and again, a couple of weeks ago, ran off the road. And again, they'll buy another one. This is how they live. They live off of the people.
No accountability.
No accountability. Well, I mean, if you look at the Kingston Hotel, over $10 billion was spent, and nobody has authorized any expenditure other than the Office of the President. The Office of the President is not a custodian of expenditure.
Sis, time is upon us, my brother. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Because it is obvious by the chat in the chat room that what you have been saying and what you have to say are very appealing to people, to our listeners. And I'm going to throw something out there. I'd like to invite you to come back again, at least before the May 11th elections, and speak some more to us about the finances and so on and so forth, and expectations. Let me just go to the chat room before I close off. Harold said, with the wealth of resources that Guyana possesses and the small population, every man, woman, and child should have health care and free education from cradle to grave. Do you think at least free education will be restored?
Looking at the numbers, the first thing that, a lot of people will have to appreciate this. After May 11th is not going to be easy, because there's a couple of things that I know that we're coming to the conclusion, but I want to make this point.
Go ahead, sis.
A couple of things that people really need to understand. The PPP has drained all the public corporations. As I said to you, over $12 billion just went without any accountability. So we don't know clearly what is in the treasury. I mean, PPP continue to spend $4.6 billion without parliamentary approval from the treasury. So they continue to spend without any accountability. So you cannot transform an economy or transform systems without money. So the first thing that needs to be established is a balance sheet of what is the income and expenditure, committed expenditure that we have. And then what is the available funds. Based on what is the size of the available funds, only then you can really say committedly that we're going to have all these things. I mean, fortunately for Guyana, we have free education from nursery to secondary. And I don't know whether it's possible, because you cannot commit to something if you have no money. I mean, I can't come and say I'll buy you a beer if I have no money in my pocket. So that's the bottom line. So, and the PPP has been very sneaky with the resources of the nation over the last 3 years. I mean, case in point, one of the things a lot of people have to know is that over the last 12 months, the PPP has drained over $200 million on the foreign reserves. Now, we know that that is not to pay bills, but the foreign reserves is basically to take care of when you have balance payments, imbalances. When your exports is less than your imports, and you got to fund it. So this is the challenge. We continue to drain whatever resources we have to bear ground. And if there's nothing left there, or not much left there by May 11th, then the people will have to understand that we have to rebuild, and that will take some time. At least, you have to give the new administration a year or two to recover. The other thing that a lot of people don't realize, Guyana has a debt of 400 billion Guyana dollars. And let's make this very clear. When Carl Greenwich was the Minister of Finance, and I want to say this for the record, he constructed something called the Economic Recovery Program. That was the foundation and the platform for the debt write-off that happened a decade after. Not Jack Deere. Jack Deere was the poster boy when the activity happened, but he wasn't the conceiver of the idea. He wasn't the guy who developed it. It was Carl Greenwich and Asgarali, and he benefited from it. That's fine. Let him run with the thing. But the point is, he keeps attacking Carl Greenwich over and over, and he doesn't understand that Guyana's economy turned around not in 1999. It turned around in 1989. That was during Carl Greenwich being as a leader, as a Minister of Finance. That is when Guyana started to turn around. That is when Guyana was seeing growth rate of 7 and 8%, and it continued on as Asgarali. Today, Guyana is not seeing those kinds of growth rate. We're seeing below 5% growth rate. So there's nothing to celebrate today, because the point is you cannot properly feed the poor with a 4% growth rate. You need 8% growth rate to really transform the country. So he needs to understand, regardless of how much he wants to hit Carl Greenwich was the guy who planted the seed to turn around the Guyana's economy. The other thing that I want to plant here is that in 1992, Guyana had a debt of US 2.1 billion. The international community wrote off $611 billion in 2006. But Guyana is back now today at 2.1 billion. So which meant between 2006 to now, the Jagdeo Ramatara administration has borrowed about 611 billion.
Oh my God.
So we're back to square one. The last 23 years under the PPP, we're back to square one on the debt question, we're back to square one on the international reserves, we're back to square one on the level of poverty. All these things have retrogressed. The only thing we have some nice roads, we have a couple of nice houses, we have the cabal that controls the country. They are all billionaires. So yes, some people are better off under the PPP. But the masses, East Indians, Afro-Guyanese, and worst of all, Amerindians, are worse off today than they were in 1990.
Sis, in the chat room, and this is all caps to imply the enthusiasm. P said, come on back, sis. I love you. Present the facts to those who don't know, and those who acting like they don't know, as well as those who don't care to know. Come on back.
All right, so I know you're at the end of your show, so thank you very much, and I will want to be with you once more. So I think this is a very exciting time for Guyana. And in concluding, I want to say I throw my support behind the coalition, the broad-based AFC, AP, and UAFC coalition. I want to make that correction.
Yes.
AFC coalition. And I honestly believe that Mr. Granger is not going to run the country the way that people want to project he will run the country. I think he will be more democratic. I think he will be more collaborative. I think he will listen to the AFC's point of views. I think he will work as a unity team. And I think he will even reach out to the PPP and says, hey, come on board. And I don't think that's a bad idea. Having a rainbow coalition that South Africa had for 5 years, let's bring them all together, good, bad, ugly, bring them together and put everybody to work, and let's build the country.
Thank you, sis. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And this is Selwyn Collins saying thank you to the listeners for listening. Fear not what fear whispers to you. Fear your obedience to it.